Welcome to Savepoint, a video game talk show where we take topics about video games that you send us on the internet, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all that great stuff, using hashtag Savepoint. My name is Ryan Shepard. Oh my god!
Hunter Taylor.
Awesome! Well, let's do some topics right away from you wonderful people. Also, you know what, I'm going to stop right now and say suggest us a topic. Are you on YouTube? Leave us a topic suggestion in the comments so we're not fishing for topics later, okay?
Yep.
Alright, do us that favor. Can you do us that? I'm not asking a lot. Like what, maybe 140 characters? I mean, I know you're a busy guy, lady, whatever. Just do it. Go ahead.
Why does it have to be 140 characters? Don't get too deep into it.
That's the...
Okay. This is from Silver Art Online. Whether or not games were really better back in the day, or if gamers are more aware now of bad quality.
Gamers are more aware of bad quality now.
Yeah, exactly. Gamers are more aware of bad quality. With the exception of, I want to say, like a handful of games, like the Ocarina of Time. Very few games have structurally have pillars or have themes or stories that stand the test of time. Very few games. A lot of, I'm not running back to play Super Mario World 3 Gold Coins, which was like the first game with Wario in it. Because it's whatever, I can play Super Mario Galaxy, which is a better game.
Yeah.
Just because it's old doesn't mean it's better.
Nostalgia gamers do annoy me a lot sometimes. I hate to say it because a lot of gamers are nostalgia gamers.
Yeah.
Old games were great and they certainly have a place, but they're not better than games now. I'm sorry. Super Mario 64 is not better than Grand Theft Auto 5. It isn't. You can say it is, but you're gonna be wrong.
Like, for me, it's just the immersion and the dense, like, how dense game companies go with their games now. It's just, it doesn't even compete at all. Like,
it doesn't.
And then when you see games that are shitty nowadays, you're like, oh, okay, but like games back in the day.
Go on.
Games back in the day. I feel like there were some that really made. There was a lot of games that made huge impacts, but just like you said, like it's games that have to last the test of time.
Are you embarrassed that the games aren't standing the test of time? What is happening?
No, I'm just meaning like there's only certain games that like if you go back to them, they're like, wow, this game is still good enough to be played at this time. So in 2044, if Grand Theft Auto 5. If people go back and be like, oh wow, this game really revolutionized free roam games, and this allowed like people are still discovering new stuff in the game.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, just like I said, like the depth is just too much. Like it's just greater.
And I think the thing is back then you had so little to compare it to. Like,
yes.
When Ocarina of Time came out, or when Super Mario 64 came out, like there were very, very few open world 3D games. In fact, those are arguably the first, are they not? I think Super Mario 64
Super Mario 64 is like pseudo the first, yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is at the time, that's all you had to play, and you played it for hours and hours and hours, and probably you were a lot younger, so you had that sort of like, you had that childlike glow of wow, video games.
Exactly. I mean, two games that I could think of because, remember a few years ago, and even, ending right about now, the big HD collection, that was a big fad for a little while.
Yeah.
Two games that I can think of that genuinely stand the test of time are the two Metal Gear Solid games, Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3. You know what I mean? Those games, I played I bought the HD collection. You play those now, and those games are still fun. Those games are still challenging.
Right.
The story from Metal Gear Solid 2 is still a bunch of techno-babble garbage that you can barely comprehend, but the game still plays really well.
It holds up well, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to know a game I feel like really does not hold up at all?
What?
But it's still a classic. Is Sonic.
Yeah, really?
Hate Sonic.
Even the original Sonic?
No, I'm with you. I'm so right there with you, dude.
Janky and so, like I just thought like there was always like that rivalry between like Sonic and Mario, and I think Mario was so much better.
Exactly.
I mean,
you see
you died a
videos.
little too easy in Sonic. You hit one thing, it's like
You see videos now. Someone's like, "Oh yeah, watch! I'm gonna play. I'm gonna like beat the whole game of Sonic in like 40 minutes." And he plays Sonic, and it's amazing to watch him play. But that's because he's practiced that game. If you go back and play Sonic now, even though we're conditioned to see so much stuff going on in first-person shooters and all that kind of stuff, he's still moving at a stupid speed that is almost unplayable unless you are aware of the level's layout prior to playing that game.
I don't know. I think we are more aware of crappiness in games now. I think we have a higher standard because we have had such great games recently, and that we're so much more involved with the process. Before, the only inside look you'd have into games would be in games magazines.
Exactly.
Now,
Which now there's only one game magazine left.
Yeah.
There's only one left in publication, really.
So,
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think that about covers it. I think games are better now, and I think we are more aware of crappy quality. But you can argue with us all you like.
Exactly. I mean, you can argue. That doesn't mean you're right.
but you want to know what game still stands the test of time?
Well, don't say Echo the Dog. Alright.
Ryan at
Audette. My dog.
What makes a good licensed game? What makes a bad licensed game?
Okay, Ryan is a friend of ours, and this is his topic. I told him to suggest it after we were talking about South Park: The Stick of Truth.
Right.
Because
a good licensed game.
Which according to him is like the greatest licensed game he's ever played. He's loving it. He can't put it down.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I think what makes a good licensed game, like a game like South Park, a game like Batman, the Arkham games, is
Spider-Man 2?
Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 1 with Bruce Campbell, because if Bruce Campbell's not in your game, get out. But I think what makes a good licensed game is whether or not it's true to what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when you play Arkham, you feel like Batman. Like that's how you should feel as Batman.
Yeah.
You walk around a crime scene, you're like, oh, I just discovered this. Oh wait, there's some dudes. Time for me to go up into the rafters and terrify them, and then pick them off one by one.
Even Amazing Spider-Man, like even though it wasn't like the best Spider-Man game out there, it still was pretty decent. It was.
Yeah. It's a lot. You felt really good swinging around the city, which is what Spider-Man does. Like 90% of the time.
I would probably say that the game mechanics probably are more important. Yeah, I think that because I think there are some games like look at any of the Harry Potter games, they're pretty bad, except for Lego Harry Potter, which was good.
Yeah. Have you played the first one?
Like
the original first two Harry Potter games that weren't Lego.
Yeah, they were awful.
Awesome.
What?
Yes.
The one I played.
Battle!
The one I played was made by EA. I played Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and it was like it was an original Xbox title.
It was cool because you actually had to go around the school and you actually took classes and you actually did things it was actually you were actually there.
We must have played a different game because the game I played sucked.
It
was boring. You had to do this thing where you had to try to trace out spells and things with your wand. It wasn't fun. I think one, you have to have a team that's dedicated to making a high quality game, and then two is extremely dedicated to being true to that license. I think those are the key.
Because you see a lot of companies who get a license and then they just cash in on that.
Exactly.
This can be
it's
bad.
gonna sell.
Exactly.
Iron
it's gonna
Man.
sell. It's gonna sell because of the name. So let's just do whatever.
I think the licensed game that I'm looking the most forward to right now is Shadow of Mordor. The new Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that does look really good.
I am looking forward to Assassin's Creed.
Is that because they said they used Assassin's Creed 2?
No, that's because it looks just like Assassin's Creed. A good example of another game is The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
The Walking Dead is a great example.
Which is interesting
of a
because
licensed game.
you wouldn't think.
Quick! It's a great example of a licensed game, and it's also a horrible example of a nice licensed game.
Why?
If you look at The Walking Dead Survival Instinct, which was the game where you play as Daryl from the TV show, that game was horrible. But then if you look at the Telltale one, it's incredible.
And it's great because it isn't exactly what you think of. When you think of a Walking Dead game, you probably think of maybe a first-person shooter or maybe a third-person survival game, but it's not. It's kind of like a storybook, choose-your-own-adventure style game. So I don't think that the type of game it really lends itself directly to what you think of watching the show, or necessarily maybe more so if you read the comics. But it is a really good game, and it is very true to the style of the series.
So what makes a bad licensed game?
When you just phone it in.
When you just cashed in, you're like, hey, we have this really shitty game that no one was gonna buy, but now it is Tom Cruise.
Exactly.
When you make Battleship a game, if you played that game,
So
No, I haven't.
They made a game. So Battleship, the board game, the movie, the game.
They base it off the movie, but yeah.
Is there any battle shipping?
I don't know. I didn't play. I just heard it was really bad.
It's probably so bad.
It's probably pretty bad.
What are some other really atrocious movie games?
Iron Man 2.
Oh, Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
I like that one.
I thought that wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad.
It could have been better.
worse.
It could have been worse, but it could have been better.
Well, let's
It's not
talk
that bad
about
of a
Star
game.
Wars Battlefront 2. Like if we
Which is like the
if you put those two in a room, what would happen?
Battlefront walks over everybody.
But I thought Revenge of the Sith was actually kind of fun. Like, I
Yeah, it
didn't think
wasn't
it was
a bad
like
game.
amazing or anything, but I thought it was still like enjoyable.
It was definitely enjoyable.
It's enjoyable. like that's a good criteria, but it's like this isn't so
Well, 'cause
bad.
some of the boss battles were like too irritating. Like, do
Mhm.
you remember like the game pretty clearly?
Oh God, no.
But when you play as Anakin and
Mhm.
it's building up to the part where you verse Obi-Wan,
Mm-hmm.
it takes forever, and they have you just fight waves and waves and waves and waves and waves and waves of people on the way to go fight Obi-Wan. It's just ridiculous and unnecessary. But I still like the game though. And didn't they have like a versus mode in there?
They
too?
did.
Yeah.
Okay, so since you brought it up, can we talk about the Star Wars Battlefront and the fact that there's going to be another one of those games?
I hope so. Is it canceled or not?
No, it is. It is happening. DICE is the company that actually is doing it.
Mhm.
People who do Battlefield, and all I can think of in my head is that they're just going to do Star Wars Battlefront, and they're just going to do for a first-person Star Wars Battlefront. It's just going to be Battlefield in space. That's honestly all I can think
That
of.
doesn't sound bad. Though.
No, it does, because I love first-person shooters. I'm really good at first-person shooters, okay? You don't play Star Wars Battlefront in first person. I know it's an option. If you pause and you go to the options,
But
you
what
can
about,
pick. You don't do it.
What
Then
about
you can't see
Republic
yourself roll.
Commando?
Huh?
What about Republic
It's
Commando?
their games are different. You can't see yourself roll if you're in first person.
Well, have they confirmed if it's going to be first person?
No, they haven't.
I actually preferred it in first person.
Get out.
Yeah,
Get out.
I prefer third person too. I like that style.
I like
feel like
that.
you're more aware of your character's
Exactly.
surroundings.
With so much going on, you want to be that. You want that third person.
When I played it on PlayStation 2, I preferred it in third person. But then when I played it, I bought it on PC or whatever.
Mhm.
I started playing in first person. To me, it just felt so much easier.
And this might seem kind of like screwed up, but I think I prefer a Star Wars game that takes place in the prequels universe as opposed to 4, 5, and 6,
Mhm.
just because there's more diversity in character types. Like, if you
Yeah.
play in 4, 5, and 6, you're not going to be able to play as a droid. There were no combatant droids
There weren't.
in the original trilogy.
All the stormtroopers are identical.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
all suck. They can't shoot.
Yeah, they're all idiots.
You have to miss every shot to be like
Exactly.
canon.
But if you look at the more recent trilogy, 1, 2, and 3,
Mhm.
there's a bunch of droids. There's a bunch of different types of droids. All of the clone troopers have a bunch of different types of armor and
Yeah.
gear and stuff like that. You
All
know what I mean?
different types of Jedi.
All different types of Jedi. My dog Plo Koon.
Is that the old dude with like the ponytail?
No, that's Kiadi Mundi. Wow. What is wrong with
Wait, who's Plo Koon?
Plo Koon he's the orange one, and he always wears the breather, and he has the like eyes. And he's
Oh, I
got the
know.
teeth.
Oh,
things.
he's cool. You know who I
Yeah.
always thought was
Dog
the
Plo.
coolest?
Who?
Just by looks, is I don't know what race he is. He kind of looks like he's green and he has like the
The
tentacles.
tentacles, and his lightsaber can go underwater.
Yes.
Oh my God! What is
He
his
is
name?
so cool.
What was his name?
If you know his name, tell us in the comments.
Yes,
It's the
please.
Jedi with the green thingies in the back, and
Wasn't
he's
there like a girl one?
and he was always shirtless. I always
There was a girl one, then she was blue, and she was
Yeah.
blue. But that's a different species. That is a different species of alien.
yeah, they only have two. That's
Got it.
Twi'lek.
Twi'lek, is that her
Yeah,
name?
that's the race of it. No, that's
Oh,
the race of it.
okay.
Twi'lek are the ones of the two. But I don't know if you're also Twi'lek, if you have all of them. I don't know if maybe it's
No,
just
he had,
a
he
male
had a
thing.
bunch. He had like dreads. He had
Is
like
that is that a
million.
male Twilight thing or is
I
that a
don't
different
know.
species?
I think it's a
Let
different
us know in the
species.
comments. This is very important. This
Yes.
will change our lives.
But oh God, I can't wait for that game. I want that game to be so good. I really do.
Okay, so what makes a bad licensed game is cashing in, not being true to the series or to good games, and
Mhm.
being EA.
Shitting on people's dreams.
Has EA ever made a good licensed game?
Weren't the original Battlefronts?
No.
EA games? No, those were LucasArts productions.
Oh no.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
This comes from Joe Malley on Twitter. Give us your top 5 most important features a game needs to have to be a good game, i.e., game mechanics, art style, plot, etc., 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 etc.
I think for me it would go number 1 is immersion. I would want it to be
I think
Which
mechanics are
kind of-
first. I think mechanics are
because
first.
for me, well that helps with the immersion for me. Like it would go.
That's why when you
it's
said
kind of like
immersion.
broader. It's kind of like a broader thing.
Right, because if you don't have the mechanics, you can't be immersed.
Yeah.
If you're like, this is clunky, I'm playing a bad game, then you're not immersed.
So I guess I like art styles and stuff like that. Because even though I'm about to name a game that a lot of people didn't really like or whatever, but I actually really liked the art style and it was a very beautiful game, which was the reboot of Prince of Persia in 2008.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very beautiful game. And even though the game, the control-wise was kind of like very easy,
Yeah.
whatever, the game still looked very beautiful and it was still a very immersive game. So for me, I guess I would rank art style as number 2. Game mechanic is number 2, and then art style is number 3, and then my number 4 would actually just be detail. Small, like, details and characters and the environment and buildings and windows and everything, and which is why I like Naughty Dog and is my favorite companies, because I feel like they really pay attention to everything to really try and immerse you as Drake or immerse you as Joel. And I think my number 5 would be the
What's this? The
just
suspense, dude.
just character development. Like make me care about the characters. Like
Okay.
if you
So
don't
plot.
yeah. If
Okay.
you don't make me care about the characters and I'm just feeling like I'm mindlessly shooting people or I'm mindlessly killing people or I'm mindlessly racing or something, like I'm not gonna care.
So what's your top 5?
What about
Oh, you want me to go?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, fine, if you insist.
Well, I mean, we got a thing going.
Okay. Alright, so I would probably start with game mechanics, even though that I think story is probably the most important things. Simply because if you can't play the game in a very fluidic, continuous, enjoyable way, you're not going to buy into the story. So game mechanics is first. Story, because that's what makes you care about the game, I feel. And then after story, I would say the art and art direction, because you know once you care about the story, you're going to want to be able to connect to it in a visual or auditory way. And then I guess minor thing, I guess after that I would say detail is also very important. It's like little things like if you can shoot the glass out of a building in the distance, that's not even relevant to the game at all. And little things that build into a more believable world. So it's almost like there's a pyramid, you know, that is built up. Like you start with strong game mechanics at the bottom, you layer that with a story that is interesting and immersive to the player, and then art that you like and is beautiful and attractive, and then you know little things like detail, and then I guess number 5 I would probably say sound, the audio, the sound tracking, and the sound effects, and then all that.
All right. So for me, even though it's weird, I'm conflicted about it because my number 1 I would say is story. Even though I understand you need good game mechanics, and my reasoning for story is I've played plenty of games that are actually not that fun to play, but the story is important.
I have to.
And I have to. So this is going to be a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow, but I'm a huge fan of the series. The first Mass Effect game is not a fun shooter. It's absolutely not a fun shooter, and shooting makes up the majority of that game.
I don't know. I thought it was fun.
Everything that David Cage has ever produced, Indigo Prophecy, Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, they don't really play that well.
No.
They don't. The only reason you're playing them is because they're telling you a story, and for some reason you want to know.
Story,
you want to know what happens next. You know what I mean? And I mean this in the nicest way, David Cage. But they're called video games. They're not called movies. Okay. So I would say story is ultimately number 1. But at the same time, I understand you can play a game that absolutely has no story, and it works out just fine. You know what I mean?
True.
I understand that. But for me, it's going to be story. Number 2, game mechanics, just because there needs to be a loop, you know, a loop of constant reward where I feel like I understand the rules that are set out in front of me, and it is now my job to solve the problem in front of me, whether that's straightforward in a puzzle game or a fighting game or something like that, you know. The mechanics need to be sound enough to the point where I feel like if I lose, it's my fault, or if I win, it's because I'm the reason I won. You know, I'm the one who put in the work. I did this, you know. The third, art design. Art design, honestly, that can change a game entirely. You know what I mean? Because I remember when I saw the first trailer for Borderlands. Do you guys remember the original trailer for Borderlands? Back when Borderlands was a serious game. Yeah. And it wasn't cel shaded at all. I saw that game and I was like, okay, all right. Okay, I don't care. And then I saw the cel shaded, and then they re-announced and re-showed out, and then that cel shaded art. I was like, wow, I understand that this game is different. I can see it's different by looking at it. It is not some brown and gray drab fest in space, you know. So I think art is a big deal, just because you look at a game like, you know, The Last of Us. The Last of Us is incredible because of its. You know, one of the things that's so incredible is its art direction. It's so precise. It's so pinpoint on realism. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first three. Number 4, sound. Sound is just incredible. You know what I mean? A great example is you play a game like the first Mass Effect, which is not a great shooter, but the conversations, the actual talking, which is part of sound.
Yeah.
Voice acting is so important. It really is so important in caring about the characters or having a plot move forward. And then number 5, which is the last thing, would be the detail, like you guys said. When it's the little things, you know what I mean? When you play a game and you walk past somebody and someone else is having a conversation.
Yeah.
And you don't have to listen to that conversation, but let's say you took the time to listen to the conversation, and all of a sudden now you know something that's going to affect the mission later on in the game.
Yeah, yeah.
Or even it's not. It's just there. It's just ambient. It's just the world around you is a living thing. That's my order. I think that's the most important. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm at right now in my life.
Do you have a 5?
That's not 5?
Was not 4?
No, that's 5.
I thought it was 4.
Learn to count, dude.
I thought you said 4 and then you never said 5. I don't
No.
think you said 5.
He said 5 with the details.
5 is
Oh, I didn't hear the details part. I probably blacked out.
Wow.
See,
Alright.
you
Well,
guys-
let us know what your top 5 important
Is this
things for
real
video
life?
games to be good. And yeah, leave us a comment, like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to our channel. Anything else, or did we about cover everything today?
Yeah, my list was like full of broader things. Like all my stuff was kind of like.
You're real childish Gambino. You're real existential there. You're real just.
No, I mean like my first one was immersion, and that was like. That can
Well,
mean a lot of things.
what is
That
it?
can mean a lot of things.
Well,
What
thank you for
is
joining
immersion?
us, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.